really happy to have him here with us tonight to give a more up-to-date report on America's space program here in Central Florida. Please welcome Brendan Byrne.
So much like Jim, I like to take pictures of people too, mostly me. I have a selfie addiction. And it's because I get to see really cool stuff with my job. I get to see hardware that goes to space. Awesome, right? And I love selfies. It's my generation's gift to you. So, but I do more than just take selfies in front of space hardware. I actually do real reporting, and I host a podcast called Are We There Yet? And the premise is real simple, thank you. The premise is real simple. I ask engineers, scientists, and visionaries a simple question. When it comes to Mars, are we there yet? And after 2 years, I have the answer. You ready for it? Drum roll, please. Are we there yet? Nope, not there. Not even close. Not even close. That's because space is really, really hard. And it's both rocket science and political science come together, so we know how that goes. So I'm going to spend my presentation telling you how hard it is to get to space and what we're doing to make it easier. Now, the first thing I want to tell you about is just how far Mars away is from us. So these are two places we like to frequent in space. We have the International Space Station, resides about 253 miles above our head. It takes us 6 days to get there. The moon is about 239,000 miles away. It takes us 6 days to get there. So when it comes to Mars, Mars is a little bit farther. And the problem with Mars is the orbits don't really align with Earth. So every 2 years it comes to its closest point, and its closest point to us is 33 million miles away. With our current technology, it takes us about 9 months to get there. And something we've learned pioneering in space is that living in space sucks. Just ask Scott Kelly. And we know this because we sent Scott Kelly up on NASA's twin experiment. He went up to the International Space Station for a year, and we kept Mark down here on Earth. And we examined the changes that Scott went through while he was up on the space station and compared it to Mark down here, the control experiment. And what we found out is some interesting things. When Scott came back, his bones hurt, his skin itched, his eyeballs had changed shape, and his vision deteriorated. He even came up with an allergy to his own bed sheets for being in such a hypoallergenic space capsule. So that would be terrible when you get onto Mars, right? Because Mars is isolated. And if there's a problem, it takes a long time to ask for help, right? It's 20 minutes to get a message from Mars back to Earth and vice versa. So if you have a problem, you're gonna have to wait a little bit. There's also some big questions that we're just starting to answer, some philosophical questions too, like, should there be a constitution on Mars? Should we militarize Mars? If we're gonna colonize it, who's in charge? What happens if someone goes bonkers while they're there and wants to come back home and they can't? So these are all philosophical questions that we're only beginning to ask ourselves, let alone have answers to it, right? So we have all these challenges. You might think I'm being very pessimistic when it comes to getting people to Mars. Well, we're getting closer. And I don't want to be a downer, but we're getting there. And sometimes you have to change focus a little bit. Maybe Mars isn't the best place for us to start. This administration thinks a return to the moon is the best place to go. And here's the reasoning. It's closer. Remember I told you it takes you 6 days to get there? If something goes wrong, you can come back. We can learn to live and work in deep space and still be able to come home. It's like camping in your backyard before you hike the Appalachian Trail. Probably a smart idea to do that, right? So we're starting to make progress on that. NASA's come up with this idea to build the Deep Space Gateway. So picture the International Space Station, but one that goes around the moon. And this serves two purposes. One, we can send astronauts there and study them longer than a year, longer than Scott Kelly spent up there. And we can also use it as a jumping off point to places like Mars. Right now, we're building the rockets that are going to take us to the Red Planet or the moon. NASA's building the SLS rocket, Space Launch System, with a lot of hardware and lessons learned from the shuttle program. And Elon Musk wants to colonize Mars with the BFR, which stands for the Big Effin' Rocket. I kid you not, that's what he calls it. And all of these are launching just 40 miles east of here. Now, another thing we have to deal with is garbage. And this is my favorite thing to report on, is garbage. So when you're on your capsule for 9 months, you're gonna make a lot of waste between food and plastic and poop, all that stuff. What are you gonna do with all that mass? It's expensive to carry that around in space. Well, people like Annie Meyer, she's a chemical engineer at the Kennedy Space Center, built the trash to gas compactor. Basically, you can put all sorts of trash into this machine, you can burn it and turn it into water. So you can have shrimp tails, you can have plastic, you can have poop go in there. Out comes water you can drink, or you can separate it, breathe the oxygen, or use the hydrogen as fuel. Now this is the Orion space capsule. It's coming together at the Kennedy Space Center. And we're gonna slingshot this bad boy around the moon in 2019. We're gonna see if our American engineers still can do it, if they can still send a capsule into deep space around the moon and back. And this will eventually carry the first astronauts to space. But everyone always asks me, Brendan, why is Mars important? Why should we be thinking about Mars? We have this perfectly good planet here. Well, we don't. We're killing this planet. Between pollution and carbon emissions and a changing climate, this planet's not going to be here for us for a long time. So what if we can take some of that technology that we're using to go to Mars and use it here to make our Earth a better place? What if we can put all the trash in the ocean into Annie's compactor and turn that into water or fuel or oxygen? There's so many other things that we can do with space. Plus, it's in our blood to be explorers. We cannot sit still. We've traversed 7 seas not knowing what was on the other side. We've gone across continents just to see what was on the other side. That's what we do. We're humans. And it's appalling that we haven't left low Earth orbit since the Apollo program, decades ago. And plus, space is really cool. This is the Curiosity rover. It's about the size of a VW Beetle. We were able to put it on the surface of Mars, and we taught it to tweet and take a selfie of itself. And one day, I hope to be on Mars and take a selfie with Curiosity myself. Thank you.